Hello and welcome to Freedom Watch, your daily dose of raw liberty online at foxnews.com/Freedom Watch. I'm Judge Andrew Napolitano here, defending freedom, defending your natural rights, and defending your right to have a government that stays within the confines of the Constitution. Everything the government runs is broke. Social Security is broke. Medicare is broke. Medicaid is broke. Amtrak is broke. The post office is broke. Now the same bureaucrats that have run the government into the ground want to run health care. And they also want us to believe that they can fix the economy and repair the damage done to the dollar by recklessly borrowing and ruthlessly printing money and by spending into the trillions. They forget that the government consumes wealth and only the free market can produce wealth. So it's no wonder Americans are fed up and protesting. The Tea Party movement is the single biggest anti-government movement since the radicals of the 1960s. And according to a new Politico Target Point poll, when asked, quote, who best exemplifies the goals of the Tea Party movement, respondents unanimously picked Sarah Palin and Congressman Ron Paul. Joining me now is John Tate, president of the Campaign for Liberty. John, it's a pleasure. Welcome back to Freedom Watch.
Oh, thank you, Judge. Good to be back again.
Any surprise that the Tea Party folks are enamored with the candor and small government and fidelity to the Constitution message of Congressman Ron Paul?
To me, it's not a surprise at all. We've seen, since his 2008 run, we've seen the numbers for him go up and up consistently. Part of that because a lot of what he was saying in 2008 that the so-called experts laughed at has come true, and people are scared. As this poll shows, people are scared about the direction of the country, and they're fed up with both parties.
The other poll that I found even more fascinating than this one was a Rasmussen poll last week, which pitted Congressman Paul against the president in a hypothetical one-on-one matchup for popular support. This is not electoral votes, and I realize it's only April of 2010. But that was President Barack Obama 42, Congressman Ron Paul 41. Did that startle you as well?
Okay, Judge, on that one, I am going to have to say I was a little startled by that. But I think, again, that tells you just how bad things are in this country and just how upset people truly are. Again, someone who was sort of scoffed at and laughed at by the, most of the media and most of the Republican hierarchy in 2008 is now, 1 point away from President Obama. Wow, what a change.
We also have, of course, the poll at CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference, which Congressman Paul won, I think, 33% to 21 or 22. Mitt Romney, who was the closest. We had the straw poll at the Southern Republican Leadership Conference, in which Congressman Paul was 1 vote behind Mitt Romney. They each had 24% of the vote. It was obviously a statistical dead heat. I'll tell you what this tells me, John. It tells me that the vast independents, people not associated with either party, are fed up with big government no matter who delivers it to them, whether it's a George W. Bush version of big government or a Barack Obama version of big government. The huge group of independents that frequently decide national and even state elections have said enough is enough. We're going to take a look at the small government, fidelity to the Constitution. The natural rights are supreme. The Constitution has to be followed. The free market is indispensable to our prosperity, message of Congressman Paul.
Absolutely. I think looking at this Politico report again, I think something that really stood out to me is, 3 out of 4 of the attendees they polled said they were scared about the direction of the country and wanted to send a message to both political parties. And then the other thing, they didn't really state this clearly, but 85% agree on one thing, and that is the government is too big and does too much. And that was and is, I think, the overriding concern of most of Americans right now.
You know, I realized we have a Democrat in the White House, and the Democrat is now pursuing nearly the identical foreign policy that his Republican predecessor did. But Congressman Dana Rohrabacher, a conservative from Southern California who was once a speechwriter for Ronald Reagan before he was a member of Congress, recently stated that in his view, between 85 and 90% of Republicans in the House believe that the war in Iraq was wrong and is unlawful. Now, how could there possibly have been such a transformation in people's thinking on something as profound and as expensive and as costly to human life as this war?
Yeah, that's an amazing number. You know, I guess we could all wish they had felt that way back when George Bush was in office. Things would have been different. But once again, I think people look at it, and, you know, it's been a number of years now. And, you know, I think one of the most telling things from the last presidential race was John McCain's comment. I don't remember the exact quote about, you know, being there 100 years. And I think people are starting to realize that it doesn't matter if we're there 5 years, 10 years, 100 years, or 500 years. When we leave, it's going to go back to the way it's always been. And it's, you know, what are we doing there?
Well, why isn't there more of an uproar about what we're doing there? Why isn't there more of an uproar about the CIA sending drones, which are dispatched by someone in the comfort and security of a laptop in Langley, Virginia, to kill people, many of them innocents, in Pakistan? Why aren't people upset about the director of national intelligence who said, yes, the president has the authority to have the CIA assassinate Americans in foreign countries? Why isn't there more angst and anxiety about the things that President Obama is doing that are nearly identical in the case of assassinating Americans, or even steps beyond what President Bush was doing?
Right. Yeah, I think, in my opinion, there's a couple of reasons for that. One is, of course, a whole segment of the people that were, you know, violent, you know, very actively opposed to what George Bush was doing. They're Obama supporters, and of course, they're not going to take on their president. Part of it is, I think, that there is a large segment of the population that they're concerned more about the economy right now. They're concerned about their jobs, their families. And part of it is, boy, I hate to say this, but, you know, I think a lot of times the American people tend to become desensitized to this kind of stuff. You know, it happens so often, so many times. I did find it amazing when I heard the story that Obama had authorized killing an American citizen. I was talk about startled.
I mean, I have been ranting and raving about it here, but one would think that there'd be rantings and ravings, however you want to describe them, from all over the place, from people who believe in the primacy of the individual, from people who believe in the right to life, from people who believe in the Constitution, which treason is defined and guarantees you a trial and says that there have to be 2 eyewitnesses to the same act of treason. There is simply no authority whatsoever anywhere for the president to order Americans to be assassinated, no matter what they've done or are alleged to have done.
Yeah, absolutely. You're exactly right. And why there's not, you know, again, why there's not more outcry, I don't know. I know that, you know, there's a certain segment that are upset about it, and I think that number is growing, and hopefully will continue to grow because it's a, boy, we're in scary times, very scary times.
I want to ask you one last question back to the Tea Parties. I hear Republicans saying to me, don't vote for, don't talk about, don't support the Tea Party candidate because the worst Republican is better than the best Democrat. Do you buy that argument, or should we support Republicans like Rand Paul and Marco Rubio who are willing to take on the big government Republican establishment?
Speaking right now as an individual, I am personally supporting Rand Paul and people like Marco Rubio, and there's a congressional candidate in Ohio 18 named Ron Hood, people who are not only solid on the issues, but who will stand up and fight and take on both the Democrats and the Republicans. And I think that's what we need. And I think the fact that you see someone like Rand Paul, who in the most recent poll is up 15 points, you know, these Republicans who are saying that, Judge, they still haven't gotten it.
Right. they don't realize that there's a battle going on for the heart and soul of the Republican Party. And small government and fidelity to the Constitution, to the Declaration of Independence, to the free market is what will carry the day. John Tate from the Campaign for Liberty, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Judge.